Alright, I guess I'm gonna make the final video for this Warlock build. Alright, I made a new solar Warlock build for pretty much everything. It could definitely be fine in Nightfalls, but it'll destroy anything lower content, probably. And raids and stuff, it'll be just fine. I've always wanted to make a decent necrotic grip build on solar because of heat rises. And I feel like I finally made something that's pretty good all around. So obviously, well, Radiance. Use Daybreak if you want, but they need to do something to make it worth using. Even with its damage right now, it still feels pretty bad. As fun as it is to use. Phoenix Dive, Snap, Healing Nade. In Nightfalls, I may swap to Celestial Fire and Incendiary Grenades. I'll explain why in a minute. Icarus Dash, so that mobility and every 3 weapon kills from the air heal you. Heat Rises is the main thing, because every 5 kills while you're airborne, doesn't matter what killed them, just as long as you killed them, you get your melee back. Singeing, so you get your dive back faster. Searing, so you get your melee back faster and spawn fire sprites for extra grenade regen. Char and Ashes, so that your snap ignites. You could also, instead of Char, if you didn't want to try and get your ignitions to chain, you could put on Eruption instead. So, I've explained before on this channel how Scorch works, but basically, if an enemy has no Scorch stacks on them and you apply Scorch with a melee, and then you build that Scorch up to Ignition, the Ignition counts as melee damage. It's whatever applies the first Scorch stack. So, with Necrotic Grip, if you cause an ignition with the snap, the ignition, everything it hits gets poisoned. So, it basically gives Necrotic Grip way more range than it would normally have from just killing an enemy. And it would have even more if you put on Ember of Blistering. Like I said, that's up to you. But I'll explain the mods. Double Ashes hands-on, because you're going to be getting a lot of melee kills. Heavy-handed, Grenade Kickstart. You don't have to have Grenade Kickstart, but I want to be able to just spam the snaps. Charged up, stacks on stacks, a bit of extra energy for my abilities from the orbs, and 2 powerful attractions, and an outreach to get a little bit more melee regen. I got this thing yesterday. It's exactly what I wanted. This thing is amazing for Icarus Dash. It's surprisingly accurate from the air with Icarus Grip. And with Unrelenting plus Icarus Dash, you kill 3 enemies from the air, you get Cure ×1, and you get an Unrelenting heal, and it starts your health regen. So if you get in a pinch, just start like bunny hopping as you kill stuff with this. But I also put on Anarchy because I wanted to stack as many dots as I can. I love damage over time builds, and Anarchy is going to be able to do the most damage over time out of any weapon in the game. You could put on an Arc Surge if you wanted. And then I just ran this. For like DPS phases, I can just apply this, snap them, and then start going to town with Supremacy. Honestly, in lower tier content, if you think you don't need the heals from this weapon, you could probably very easily get away with double special and just only kill stuff with your melee that isn't a boss. But I'll show it now. See if I can show you how much range. See, that was definitely more range than Necrotic Grip usually has. And see, I already have my melee back. And if anything would have actually survived that snap, they'd be poisoned. See, that guy got poisoned down there. because the ignition hit him. And then he's just going to keep spreading it if he goes near enemies. In a second, probably for the next room, or actually, I'll do the next room with the snap as well. Alright, let me show you how much damage Anarchy with Necrotic Grip can rack up. It's pretty ridiculous. I mean, it's going to be good for champions and stuff like that, because you can just stick them with that, snap them, and then go to town with a sniper or anything. Honestly, I may swap to the increased AoE from the ignitions. I just like that occasionally you can get like chain ignitions with Ember of Char, but you don't see it very often. It may be good in Nightfalls, where enemies are tanky enough to survive the first ignition. As you see, I haven't even had to use my healing grenade yet. And if you don't cause an ignition, it's no big deal, because Necrotic's still going to finish off everything that you did. And it's just going to keep going on its own, most likely. I also love Anarchy because it just melts anything that isn't a boss. Even just one grenade. Oh, okay. Let me swap to... This is going to be like the more slower paced, like focused for Nightfall's version. I like this combo because it's an automatic ignition. But if you do it right, you're going to be able to cause necrotic poison from way further away in a big radius. So this is the less aggressive version. Let me swap to Trusty. Just gotta wait for my abilities to come back. Obviously for this, you may want to put on like a demolitionist weapon, because you're not going to have all that much melee or grenade regen. I mean, for melees, you can just bunny hop when stuff's dying. But so the way this would work is you apply the Scorch, throw the grenade, and there you go. Poison ignition from pretty much any range, as long as you can throw your grenade well. And Necrotic is good, even in Nightfalls. I mean, it puts in some serious work. I forgot that incandescent weapons do good good scorch damage when you have Ember of Ashes on. Fire sprites give you a decent amount of grenade regen as well. I'm trying to see if I can find a... There we go, maybe that. No, I didn't get the ignition. See, that's the thing about this, is it allows you to cause ignitions from really far away, but you gotta hit that grenade throw. And you can't throw the grenade first and then like use Celestial Fire on the enemy afterward, because you have to apply those first Scorch stacks from Celestial Fire for the ignition to spread the poison. It'll probably be better in the next room, because the enemies bunch up a bit more. Stupid. I hate these guys. Obviously, you don't have to use your grenade to cause the ignition. It's just like, I figured like this, the way I planned this out would be like, I'm looking at a group of like 20 enemies in a Nightfall, and I just Celestial Fire one on the outside of them and then throw that grenade in there, and everything just starts igniting and getting poisoned all at the same time. You could actually run this with like 1,000 voices, because it applies so many Scorch stacks that... Well, actually no, you wouldn't want to run that. I guess you could, if you're going to use this setup for Nightfalls, you could run like Skyburners, and then just do this, and then hip fire with Skyburners until they ignite, because then you'd still get the poison ignition, but you'd be able to do it without using your grenade ability. Yeah, that's honestly probably what I'd recommend. Obviously, you don't want to be floating around this much in a Nightfall. In the next room, I'll try and play it more like I would play in a Nightfall, just to show how it does from range. My only complaint about Necrotic is sometimes it just doesn't activate. I think it has like a cooldown on how fast the melee can apply poison. I'm not sure. I don't think I have Skyburners on me. No. That's alright. I'll just do it with the grenade combo. Obviously it would be a lot better with Skyburners though for Nightfalls probably. Let them stop. Oh, they're already poisoned, okay. Obviously you can still try and like bunny hop when you're in a Nightfall, just to get that extra melee regen. Here we go, let me get them all first up. Every single one of those spread poison, if anything was near enough to get hit by it. Like I said, even without the ignition, being able to apply poison at that range. And I know you could just use this with Strand and Suspend, but I've always wanted to make it with Solar because of the Heat Rises melee regen. It's just such a ridiculous amount per kill. Like, you can just poison some enemies and just watch. Also show how much dots you can do with Anarchy plus Necrotic. Come back to him later and look at his health bar and see how much damage he's taken without us doing a single thing. I think Ember of Char, yeah, maybe run Ember of Char in Nightfalls, where enemies are tanky enough to like chain between each other, and then maybe Ember of Eruption in other stuff, where you aren't going to get many chains, but you can possibly poison way more things with it. Unfortunately, I have no idea how much of a range increase Ember of Eruption is, nor do I really know how I would be able to test it. But I do know it's substantial from my experience. See, that's why I like this. You can just hop as they die. and you get an absurd amount of melee regen, even without Monte Carlo. I guess you could just use Monte Carlo with this, but why do that when you can use more dots? Speaking of, you see how much damage he took just from us poisoning him and sticking him with Anarchy. Anarchy is incredibly ammo efficient. That's another reason I love it. You could use Witherhoard as well, if you don't have Anarchy. It would be decent. See, just hop as soon as he dies. Pretty much all my melee energy back immediately. And more enemies keep jumping into the poison. I won't complain. Everybody already knows how potent Necrotic Grip is. Even on its own. Just make sure to try and pick up your fire sprites when you get them. Something I have noticed that's kind of weird though about Celestial Fire with Necrotic Grip is that for some reason it seems like only you can't poison multiple enemies with it. It seems like only the first enemy to get hit by the poison will by the Celestial Fire will actually get poisoned, even if you like split the projectiles between enemies. Not sure if it's going to spawn more enemies. Like I said, I think maybe Ember of Char for Nightfalls, and then like Skyburner's Oath instead of Anarchy. I mean, unless you just like Anarchy's damage, it is nice for champions. Maybe against Cabal, where you know you can hit your sniper shots on champions and stuff like that. But I'm gonna try out now. I'm gonna try Ember of Eruption with the snap and see if it's a substantial boost to the range that the poison can spread. But we'll see. Either way, hope y'all enjoy it.